This is The Revenue Governor. I'm April, your host, and this is where we break down the patterns most leaders feel but don't always confront. Today's briefing is simple. The room knows. You think no one noticed the delayed decision, the rep you protected, the number you didn't change or challenge, the standard you soften and continue to soften, but the room noticed. They all did. The room always notices. And when leadership hesitates, the organization recalibrates. Not loudly, not dramatically, quietly. And quiet recalibration is the most dangerous kind because you don't feel it immediately. Nope. You feel it in like 3 months when the numbers just don't make sense. Leaders like to believe silence is neutral. It's not even a little. In fact, in leadership, silence is loud. It's instructional. If something is obvious and you don't address it, the room assumes one of two things. Either you don't see it or you see it and you choose not to act. Neither interpretation builds confidence because if you don't see it, they question competence. If you see it but won't act, they question courage. Both erode trust. You don't have to announce a standard for it to exist, but you do have to enforce it in order for it to mean something. Standards that are stated but not enforced become suggestions. And face it, what suggestions do you intentionally add? Think about it. Suggestions don't build performance cultures. They build negotiation cultures. When you don't enforce, people adjust. Not because they're disloyal, because they're rational. And a rational mind optimizes around incentives. If enforcement disappears, incentives shift. If incentives shift, behavior follows. This isn't emotional. It's structural. You train them, whether you like it or not. Culture doesn't change in big speeches. It changes in micro moments. It changes when a missed forecast gets reframed instead of addressed. A top performer sees a low performer protected. How many times do you actually see that happening? A deadline moves. Again, a leader says, let's give it another month or two, depending on how much they want to change currently. Every one of those moments teaches something, and the room keeps score. They do. Top performers start watching closely. They notice who gets protected. They notice what gets ignored. They notice when clarity goes unspoken. They notice you. High performers rarely complain. They adapt. They recalibrate their efforts to match enforcement because efforts follow credibility. If standards are flexible, efforts become flexible. Middle performers, on the other hand, normalize the drift, while underperformers really relax for a while. And here's the subtle part. The underperformer isn't the biggest risk. The disengaged top performer is. Because when your strongest people stop believing enforcement is real, you've already lost leverage. So what do you even have? Really? No one schedules a meeting titled, Lower the Standard. There's no Slack announcement. There's no all hands. It just happens. And once that recalibration occurs, you don't have a performance issue. Now you have a credibility issue. And credibility decays faster than pipeline. Let's make this practical. Let's talk about what silence will cost. Slower deal cycles, softer qualification, inflated pipelines, forecast optimism, and reduced urgency. Because when accountability weakens, metrics become symbolic. When accountability weakens, people report activity, not outcomes. They narrate process, not progress. If you think you're maintaining stability, the room thinks enforcement is negotiable. That gap is so expensive. Not emotionally, operationally. And here's how it shows up. Missed quarters explained away, top talent quietly exploring options, strategy decks that look impressive and don't convert, alignment that never turns into execution. Revenue doesn't collapse overnight. It erodes. Standards soften, conversations get padded, forecasts become the best case, accountability becomes optional. And here's the part leaders underestimate. Everyone knows. The room knows. They know what should be said. They know what won't be said. They know which behaviors actually matter. And this adjusts accordingly. There's something else that happens. When leaders avoid the obvious, it creates cognitive dissonance. Your team sees reality. You speak around it. Now they're forced to choose. Trust what they see or trust what you say. When those diverge, alignment fractures, not publicly though, internally. And fractured alignment slows execution more than any competitor ever could. Leadership isn't about reacting loudly. It's about acting when the signal is clear. It's about shortening the gap between recognition and response. If something feels obvious to you, assume it's obvious to the room. And if you don't address it, Assume they just were taught something, because you did. The room knows. They all do. They always do. The only question is whether you're willing to acknowledge what they already see. If you're leading and something feels off, pause long enough to really ask yourself, what is my silence teaching? Then you can decide intentionally, because there's always learning from it. Always remember, the room knows.